If you look at what other people are doing these days, is they have realized that object orientation in your development environment is key. It could be said to be the next major step in terms of how people develop software. What we offer is a true and complete object-oriented development environment that has proven results.
In October 1991, NeXT challenged the claims of its own software developers and customers by inviting two programmers to implement the same application on two different platforms. One programmer worked on a SPARC Station 2GX using Sun's Open Windows and DevGuide development tools. The other on a NeXT Station Color using NeXTSTEP, our object-oriented development system. The application to be developed is designed to allow representatives of a hypothetical office products company to solve customer problems over the telephone. When a call comes in, the customer service representative, or CSR, enters the caller's ID number into the system, and the system responds with the corresponding name and address from the customer database. As the customer describes the problem, the CSR, using standard word processing functions, enters the problem in a trouble log, into which the system has already copied the customer's name and address. From a database of products, the CSR selects the product in question, which in turn leads to a list of associated problem solutions. The CSR retrieves and displays the appropriate solution from a solutions database, which contains product manual pages scanned and stored in industry-standard TIFF format. The system also allows the CSR to print or fax the manual page, as well as to compose an accompanying cover letter with the name and address again copied from the customer database. Finally, the system must perform the usual housekeeping functions like database maintenance, as well as allow the user access to all system resources, such as printers and modems, to which the operating system would normally grant access.
Well, the relationship between the different parts of the project are fairly well defined. It's just there's some cosmetic considerations in how you're going to put it on the screen and how you're going to make it arranged, which I have quite a bit of control over, but the actual functionality and what information does have to appear and how the information relates to other information is pretty well defined already.
Actually, one of the benefits of both of these types of tools is that you can prototype things easily without a lot of pain.
I'd say if we didn't have the kinds of tools that you have in the NeXT environment to do this kind of project, just this prototyping project would probably take 2-3 weeks, maybe more for me. Whereas with these tools, it'll take me 2 days.
I agree with the other Tom. It should take about a couple work days.
Every application on a NeXT computer is built using Interface Builder. Interface Builder is not just a simple user interface prototyper. It is an application builder.
I've already created the basic framework for the application, and now I'm going to lay out the contact information window. Over here we have what we call a palette, and all that is a collection of different objects which you can just drop into your application. In this case, I'm dropping in what we call a matrix of fields. You have to give each of these, of course, the appropriate name. The next thing we have to do is we have to create the 3 buttons we need for the contact information panel. So to do that, we can just move over to the palette and drag a button over. I also don't like the spacing of these buttons, so I'll stretch them out just a little bit.
In the same way, the NeXT programmer creates the customer log window by dragging a window object from Interface Builder's palette. Then he drags and drops a text object into the log window. With this one action, he has included in his program all the text handling capabilities of a sophisticated word processor, from multiple fonts and rich text to scrolling and spell checking. Using DevGuide, the Sun programmer creates his user interface. Without some of NextStep's features, like matrix fields and graphical connections, the process is a little more tedious, though still one of personal preference. The similarity in both design and implementation time of the two interfaces suggests the real test of these tools will come over the next few hours, when the programmers take their designs from the prototype stage to full-blown production systems.
You cannot build full-blown applications in DevGuide. It is not object-oriented in any sense. It is simply a screen painter. The person who's not intimately aware of what's going on looks at the products, and they look the same because they both have the ability to paint the screen. But that's where DevGuide stops, and that's where Interface Builder begins. Interface Builder allows you to connect objects, to send messages from one object to another. DevGuide doesn't even know what an object is.
Well, right now I'm getting ready to create a way to make the buttons function and the customer information to come up. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a new object. What I intend to do is I intend to subclass object itself, because the controller object really doesn't need any of the functionality of these more sophisticated objects. Then I'm going to name the object controller. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my buttons to the object. Control-click on a button and you come down and make a connection. Now, of course, the send button will get connected to the send function. The log button will get connected to the log function. And the find button will get connected to the find function. What just took me 2 or 3 minutes to do would probably take me an hour or so to do manually.